Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Society of the Eternal Mile podcast. I'm your host, Noah Sias. On today's episode, we're joined by Boston Chuck. You may be familiar with his work as an independent photographer or from MetalUnion.com and HeavyMetalSource.com. Follow the show on social media at SOTEM Podcast. Subscribe wherever you listen. Leave a review if you enjoyed the show. And lastly, don't forget about Patreon at patreon.com/SOTEM Podcast. So one last rep on the Distinguisher Tour going on right now. Tonight they're at the Marquis Theater in Denver, Colorado, and it's the last date for the run. So if you're in the Denver area, be sure to stop on out and show your support. Light on announcements this week, so let's get started. My first interaction with Boston Chuck was in the summer of 2015 on the Vertebroken Tour's stop in Atlanta, Georgia at Under the Couch. Chuck was taking photos for the show. For those not familiar, Chuck is not average by any stretch of the imagination. This guy is tall, stocky, and knows how to move. It's fairly early in our set, and I see him taking pictures, and then suddenly stopped, made a really nasty face, and then started crowd killing a somewhat stagnant crowd that was not ready for him. So it's end of the night, and I'm making my rounds. I see Chuck, and I go to say thanks for doing work out in the crowd, along with taking photos. At this point, I don't know his name, and I haven't heard his voice. So it came to my surprise when out of nowhere, this thick, hearty Northeast accent says back to me, "Man, you're one hell of a character up there." We talked for a little bit and exchanged social media handles. Fast forward to March of 2016 for the Macho Man Tour, and Chuck came out to our show in Ringgold, Georgia at Cloud Springs Deli. It was like the conversation picked up right where it left off. Great time chatting. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to see him since then, but we keep tabs on one another on social media. He has a lot of great stories from being from the Northeast and being around for a lot of significant tours. This episode was an absolute pleasure to do, and I hope you all enjoy it as well. Here's my conversation with Boston Chuck. Chuck, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
When did you first get involved with music?
It starts when I was a kid. Really does, because I owe it all to my mother. And I'm not your normal person, as you know, and, anyone else that knows me. I'm not your normal fucking person. And my mother is a big reason why I listen to the music I do. And, I was really young, listening to, 1986. I was listening to Beastie Boys, and my neighbor's brother gave me a tape. He says, "Hey, you like the guitar work on that?" And it was Slayer he gave me. And he's like, "Check this out. He does the guitar works on a lot of the Beastie Boys songs." I'm like, and I said, I started listening to metal, and my mother found that Slayer tape, and she's like, "What is this?" Now, my mother doesn't talk like me. She's like, "Charlie, what is this? No, this is not good." I'm like, but she was like, "I want to hear it." She puts it on. Now, my mother's from a third world country. So she said it. In my country, she's like, the music doesn't sound like this. It sounds like, here I am with a ukulele and, an accordion, okay? And they're like, she's like, "It's not fun." She's like, "It's all folk music." She's like, "It's no passion and no fun to it. It's just folky, And I'm like, okay. And this is the Azores, and it's third world. It's Portugal, but it's still third world-ish. So she came here, and she's like, "This is amazing." She loves Slayer. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, yes. And then she helped me get into so much music, and she opened me up. We would listen to anything. It'd be going from Huey Lewis and the News to like Slayer to like New Kids on the Block to Agnostic Front. You know, it's like, what the hell? And my mother would be like, oh, listen to this. You might like it. And amazing having that in my life. So when I grew up, I'm like, I wanted to get into music, and I already had it like in me to listen to this really aggressive stuff at a very young age, like 9, 10 years old. So as I got older, I wanted to venture into it like most people, you know, that get into music. They, of course, you know, we all want to be someone. Like growing up, I loved Pantera. And like most musicians you ask, we all want to be Phil Anselmo in a way. You know, it's like, no, I don't want to boot up heroin. You know, I'm like, I know I don't want to be, you know, goose stepping across stage or whatever, but you want that attitude. Very influential to me as a child. So, you know, so I'm like, let me, you know, try starting a band. You know, it's like, I have no musical talent. No. Now, my mother pushed music, but never pushed me into music. That I wish, you know, it's like, well, you know, I wish I, like, when I see, like, I hear, you know, you play drums, you know, I've seen you on stage, I've shot you 1,000,000 times. Like, you got so much energy, and I'm like, God, I fucking hate him. I wish my mother pushed me into that shit. I'm like, I wish I could shred. I'm like a big bearded fat guy shredding on stage. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, fuck, I could be in Crowbar. You know? But yeah, so growing up, I'm like, I wanted to start a band. So like, I was a singer. I couldn't do much, and especially in the 90s. 90s were rough for music. You know, there was a lot of great bands that were coming out, especially from like the Northeast and everything. But like, I wanted that whole attitude thing. We tried going down that, I was horrible. I was a horrible musician. I had no place to even step on. Everyone liked my stage presence because I'm a big asshole. Of course, it's like, all right, you know, it's like, fuck, okay, this is another. But I could, like, I was doing like spoken word shit. It's kind of like Henry Rollins meets like anal cunts. And it was like, it absolutely, I'm like, I couldn't even, I'm like, but you know, we had 2 bass players at one time, but I can't remember this kid. This kid would play like fretless bass. And when I see that, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, you know how to play. I'm like, and he was a classical bass, but and he came in, he's like, dude, let's do 2 bass players. I'm like, I was shit-faced. I'm like, a lot of my younger years, I was completely fucked up. So I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I'm like, oh, but it was completely fucking horrible.
Going off of what you were talking about with hearing, you know, like the Slayer record, you know, when you were young and all these different types of music, I have a similar story with my grandma. So a family friend of my mom's, one of her earliest memories of me, and I was itty bitty, we were pulling into the driveway, me and my grandma, and you can hear like a decent hum like of music over the car stereo. I open up the door, and it's literally like Cat Scratch Fever by like Ted Nugent just blasting.
You know? And only if they knew. They're like, oh, yeah, you should be blasting that song.
Right. And I remember listening to Ted Nugent all the time with my grandma. And then also, I think because, you know, we're older, not too many people are going to be able to appreciate this, but it was like a steady rotation of Ted Nugent and Rodney Dangerfield tapes.
Oh man, yeah. See, I remember that shit. See, I had an uncle. He introduced me to a lot of weird stuff, like drugs. But yeah, he would listen to some, like, he was like my father's friend it was family friends for years, and like my father was a weird cat too. I'm like, I have my dad and I have my father. My father's the sperm donor.
Sure.
But he listened to like a lot of that stuff, like, and it kills me because I don't like classical rock. I never got into that music. And like my father would listen to like the shit. Now, the only thing that we could ever agree on was like pretty much anyone that liked heavy metal music, Black Sabbath.
Sure.
You know, it's like, that's it. I'm like, I remember him playing Black Sabbath and Pink Floyd. And at that time, it was garbage to me because I was so young. You know, I'm like, and I would listen. I'm like, no, I'm not going to listen to him because you're weekend dad, whatever. But now Uncle Phil. This is, I'm like, yeah, it's not going down a dark road, people. We're not getting upset here. We're not going to be like, oh, it just turned to one of those Ricky Lake show things. Yeah, no, nothing like that.
Another fun dated reference there.
Yeah. Old. But it's like Uncle Phil was like, he would listen to that stuff and he'd be like, here, listen to this. And I Kiss. And I'm like, I hate fucking classic rock. But he would put on, it's like, okay, when you hear like, okay, take Kiss.
Sure.
Okay, you know, it's like, but they know how to make songs that are fucking catchy and that are unbelievable. Now, he would play shit like that, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm like, but it was like the attitude. It still comes down the whole Pantera thing. It was the attitude. Like, he would play, what is it? Rock all night long, party all day, fucking, I don't know. That's my version of it.
Right.
But they play something, and I'm like, it's the catchy song. I'm like, okay, Detroit Rock City. I'm like, okay, this shit sounds, you know, the anthems, you know, it's like, okay, he got me into that shit. So I'm like, I had that for classic, but I never really appreciated it until actually drugs, until him, like, here's weed. And I'm like, and I don't do drugs, kids. Don't. I'm like, I've done a lot of things. Don't do drugs. Okay. If you're not high, don't get high. You know, it's like same thing. If you're not drinking, don't start drinking. Weed is like a key to music. It's a creative I don't want to call it drug, but it's a creative tool for music. And a lot of, like, Bill Hicks once said, God, it's on a Tool album. If you think drugs have never done anything good did anything good, go home and burn all your albums, CDs, records, burn them, because all the musicians that made that were really fucking high.
Yep.
And you take, like, Pink Floyd, you know, it's like, even if they weren't on drugs, their music is just
timeless.
Yes, you know, and it's like, it makes it like, it brings you to, it's a drug, you know, and like, it'll bring you to a new place, you know, it's like, and I didn't understand that until I discovered pot, you know, I'm like, then it made sense. I'm like, holy shit, Dark Side of the Moon? Dude, break out the bong, we're gonna fucking listen to Dark Side of the Moon. Wow.
But, you know, sometimes it's those weird bands that, like, really kickstart everything. I don't know if this would count for you as being this with the Slayer record, but I'll go ahead and ask the question anyway. If you had to name one record that changed everything for you, what would it be? One song. Not even a record. One song inspired a whole genre and generation of fucking music after it. Domination by Pantera. That fucking breakdown, dime solo, Phil, and like, especially if you watch the Moscow version, mind blowing. I'm like, I heard that in 1990, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, this is amazing. And it really changed my life. Actually, I was 13 years old, got snuck into a club. Luckily, you know, at 13 years old, I was 6 feet tall. I had a mustache thicker than yours. And I'm like, it's nice being Portuguese, okay? I'm like, I look like an Arab all the time. I'm like, I was 9 years old with a beard. I'm like, hello, little woman. So I got in, and it was Pantera. They were like the opening band, Megadeth and Suicidal Tendencies. Okay.
And they just released the album like 2 or 3 months before that, and I heard Domination and Primal Concrete Sledge, and it really changed everything for me. At that point, I'm like, my mind was blown. But when I heard Domination and that breakdown, how chunky that shit was, and this is before the Acacia Strain, you know, chunkiness, you know, it's like before that heavy thing, and like that, it changed my life. Just hearing that, and like still to this day, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, on YouTube, go on there for that 10-hour fucking just loop of that breakdown. I'm like, God. I'm like, dude, if I could have that playing outside, I'd murder a lot of people. Just telling you. Just tell you. Watch out, Atlanta.
But I totally agree with you on that. That whole record is just crazy.
Now for Slayer, when I was a kid, it was Raining Blood. I'm not even gonna lie, it was Raining Blood. Just like the intro of it, and it was the same thing with Black Sabbath. Here in Black Sabbath, the beginning intro, they remind me of the same. Like that whole like. Well, with Black Sabbath, it's the bells and stuff like that, and the water, and but it was just the intro of both of them. They were so dark and like, what's going on here? Oh, we're all gonna die.
Right.
And it's just it's the calm before the storm, and like boom, and it just comes in like dun, 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 and hearing that, and you're like, what is this? It's like, and then they'll break out. It's like fucking amazing.
What was it like growing up in the Northeast with music?
What got me into the business was I tattooed my ass with a radio station logo that says Mistress Carey, WAAF 107.3. It looks like a brand mark right on my ass. And it was to party with Pantera and Slayer. And that was like, I met so many people. Mike Casavant, he was in Burn in Silence. He ended up doing side projects and music projects with like Nate Johnson and everything that never got released but were amazing. But I met him when he was a child, like before he started going. But that changed it. It was like 2001, and at that time there was so much music. I'm like, I can't do bands. It's over. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, I'm not meant to be in the music. I'm like, at that time we had like the Northeast, you had like Madball fucking coming out. Like, I'm a big metalhead stuck in the hardcore community. I'm like, I love hardcore. Hardcore is who I am. But when you talk to me, I'm straight up metal. I'm like Cowboys from Hell tattoo on me. I'm like, I look like the dad rocker that wants to fight your daughter. I've always been like the metalhead in the hardcore community, and the Northeast for their hardcore, just their hardcore is fucking amazing. Agnostic Front from New York, Madball from New York, Hatebreed from Connecticut, Blood for Blood. I can go on forever on this. The whole fact that I lived in New Hampshire and I could get to New York in 6 hours from New Hampshire by taking a bus for $10 is fucking amazing. The Fung Hua, scary as hell, might blow up on you. But $10 to get from like Boston to New York, and there's about a dozen fucking clubs in Rhode Island. Providence just alone, Massachusetts, you got Worcester. It's like you have Boston, you have Holyoke, Springfield area. Then you have Manchester, New Hampshire, and Concord and Nashua that also bring shows in. Maine, you have Lewiston. All these, it's just a large market. And then Connecticut, yeah, Hartford. Like, it's just like growing up as a kid, I go to shows like every other fucking day. Growing up in the Northeast was amazing. The bands like Deadwater Drowning, the Acacia Strain, Hatebreed, Shadows Fall, Killswitch Engage. It goes on forever. Like, it just growing, like, especially in like the 90s and 2000s, like Dillinger coming out from Jersey. Like, there was a lot of great, like, Burnt by the Sun. And then, like, now, like, all these bands are like Killswitch is fucking gigantic. It's like with, Jesse back again. It's like still unbelievably huge. And growing up, like, that's what, like, that last thing when I was at that show and I met all these people, I realized I'm not meant to be in a band. I'm like, I got to help musicians or people in the business to get where they want to be.
Let's go ahead and segue into the next point here as you were kind of touching on it. What got you interested in live photography?
I wanted a way to help musicians, people that had the heart, the attitude, the talent to actually go on, and do this in music. And my love for photography came from the music world. Most of my work is all band photography. Just being in New England, like, just started something. When I did the whole Pantera show and Dime came up to me and he's like, do you really want to be working in music? Now, at that time, I did the switch and I did a little college radio in Providence. I was on at like 3 a.m. until like, I think it was like fucking 7. And it was horrible. And then I worked with AAF, with Real Rock TV. When Dime came up to me and he's like, do you really want to work in radio? And at that time, it's like, Scrape. Was on the radio, it's like, and then, he's like, do you want to deal with like bands like that? Do you want to, new metal? Like, I say, I don't like I can't get into that, So I'm like, do you want to deal with this new metal stuff, or do you want to do what you want to do and support the bands that you want to do? And I'm like, good call, and I'm like, I left that all behind me. I was like, fuck that. I started a website called themetalunion.com. It's no longer around. Me and my partner, we didn't see eye to eye on it, and we split up and went different ways on it. It was just a bad fallout between us, So I'm like, okay. But when I started that media company, I started interviewing bands and working with bands. Now, it was fun. I'm like, I didn't shoot shows because my partner was the one that was shooting all of the shows. She was better at it. Let her do it, So I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I do interviews. I set up interviews and party with bands, brought in the bands and everything. And now the problem was I wanted to go into photography, and I was shooting shows. Like my first band I ever shot was this little band out of LA called Slayer. And I don't know how the guy was like, hey, I remember you. And he gave me a photo pass. I was like, I don't even have a fucking camera on me. Like my buddy gave me his like Canon like point and aim. I'm like, oh, fuck, whatever. I'm like, okay. And worst fucking pictures I've ever taken in my life. But I got like 2 good pictures of like, I got one of Jeff and one of Carrie. And I'm like, the horrible, completely fucking horrible. I'm not a great photographer to start with, but I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, this is complete garbage. I'm like, yeah, I definitely wouldn't be in my portfolio, but I keep them because when I did that, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I'm like, and then I started trying to get off from doing interviews and getting away from that because it's kind of like I was saying off camera and off record with you earlier. I'm like, it's like a Hunter Thompson thing. I'm like, people didn't want to see Hunter Thompson. They wanted Raoul Duke. They wanted to see the mess. Like, and my thing was people just wanted me to be a drunken maniac. They wanted me, act like an asshole. It's like they didn't care that I was taking pictures, and they wanted me to do my interviews. They wanted me to do my mayhem with the bands and stuff like that. Was absolutely fun and great, but I really wanted to concentrate more on the art. So I started just taking pictures of friends and like doing what I could, it's like, and how I, network. I'm like, I know you guys smoke. Guess who's showing up at your show? It's like, oh, you guys say, yeah. I'm like, and at this time, I'm like, I bring some smoke, get a photo pass. I'm like, at least, and that's another thing with shows. I'm like, I don't go empty-handed. I'm like, I want to do something. This firsthand. I'm like, can I help carry in shit? Do you need me to do anything? I'm like, I get there earlier before you guys. I get there always before the fucking bands. I set up. I'm like, I do what I have to do. I wanted to help out bands, and I really liked concert photography. So I'm like, I started aiming it towards bands. And I'm like, I loved it. I'm like, I still wanted to be a part of the music, and I still wanted to do something, for the bands. And I'm like, I wanted to have an art outlet. I'm like, in high school, a teacher told me, he's like, I had a scholarship to go to Johnson & Wales for culinary art. Never did it. Bailed on it. Regret it now. But I never did it. And he's like, you're not meant to be a cook. I'm like, all my food, Facebook and like shit is all food posts. I'm like, I'm an amazing chef. Know that. I ain't made to work in a fucking restaurant. Hurry up. Fuck you. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm cooking. I'm like, I'm not meant for that. He's like, I just see you doing something more orientated. He's like, I just don't see you being a cook and like on the line, just making like fucking hamburgers. And, he's like, you're not meant to do that. He's like, you got to do something. And then never thought about it when I was a kid. I'm like graduating. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, woo. I'm like, fuck this. I'm out. Oh, God, I wish I was still in. God damn it. Life was so much easier. But like, I just like, he knew I wanted to go, and I'm like, it just feels right for me to do photography. Like when I left New England, it was a big step for me. Leave home, basically, because I was there for 32 years, and it was all the great clubs are in New England. It's like it's just a great music scene. So I'm like, okay, I have to make this, thing. I'm like, there's so many great photographers out of the Northeast, like Bruce Bettis out of Boston, great photographer. He used to do concert photography. He just does everything, and he's another guy like me that just will do everything. But his art's amazing. Meg Loyal, she's now out in California. She's originally from California, moved out to Boston. She was the great photographer. Rob Noxious, Evil Rob, whatever they want to call him, great photographer. Return to the Pit, he takes great pictures of what he does. It's like a lot of people are like, oh, he's a horrible photographer. But I'm like, he shoots everything. It's like, and then you have these guys from the West Coast, like Jerry John. He's a great photographer coming out from the Anaheim area, and he come out to like every metal fest, New England Metal Fest, and like it was just a mecca for musicians and artists all around. And I'm like, I just knew it was time for me to, especially as an artist, to grow and leave that area, because there was so many. It's just like anything. If you go into a woods with so many pine trees, there's only pine trees growing because they're so packed in there. Everything, sun doesn't get down. That's the thing. I felt like I wasn't grown enough being in this area, and I would have just been pigeonholed just to do one thing. And I wanted to be more than just a drunken maniac running off stage. I wanted to be a photographer. So I figured as an artist, this is something I have to do. And so I moved out of New England and started my, I don't want to say spiritual adventure, but but I started I just went, I've always been a nomad. And I have nomadic tendencies like motherfucker. Since a kid, I've never stayed still. I've moved in the last 10 years probably like 25 times. And people are like, what the fuck? I lived in New Hampshire. I lived in Rhode Island. I lived in Boston. I lived in Connecticut. Very short time in New York. Can't do it. Just can't do it. Too expensive. I've always been this way, but especially like being a photographer, it made me I started researching other photographers. But I was also doing urban exploring at the time, so I'm breaking into abandoned nut houses, chemical plants, anything that's fucking. Oh, look, there's a house, no one's there, fenced in. Fuck it, I'll find my way in, get into these places, and explore them, and find key places to do photo shoots. And
so in 2011, you moved to North Carolina, and then not too long after that, in 2013, you moved again, but this time to Atlanta.
Yeah, North Carolina is great. I was right outside of Charlotte, and it just so I moved in back and forth a couple of times. But in 2013, I was like, okay, I'm staying in Georgia. Atlanta's the place to be. North Carolina was great. You have Asheville, you have Raleigh, you have Charlotte, you have Greenville, Greensboro. Actually, I think it was Greenville is where I met Cory. Molotov Solution, Murder, Death, Kill, and there was someone else in Bermuda, and actually the guy maced the fucking crowd, locked us all in there. Oh yeah,
jeez.
Oh yeah, great. I'm and this was my first show in North Carolina. I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was horrible. I'm up north, there's one security is usually a group of friends. We won't say what friends they are, but they stand together. We'll just say. Usually security, and not a bad thing, because you know what? It's run tight, and they know what hardcore dancing is. I like to crowd kill. I fucking love crowd killing. You know this.
Yeah.
I'm fuck, with my camera in my hand, I am picking up change, motherfucker.
Yep. I literally mentioned that in your intro.
Yeah, it's see, I like to fucking crowd kill. Now, I'm not going to go, punch a girlfriend, but, hey, what's up, Noah? Oh, get up, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm going to have fun. And it's but they don't understand. It's I'm not here dancing to Slipknot, okay, or Mudvayne or fucking whatever, So it's no push pitting that's going on with me. I'm if you want to push me, hey, I'm cool. I'll step out. Don't fucking push pit me when I'm picking up change. Now I'm going to make an example out of you because I'm and a scene adult, okay? Scene adult. Not a hipster. Scene adult. North Carolina is great, but everything was so spread out. And I had to say, it was 4 hours in the car. Okay, I lived right outside of Charlotte, like 20 minutes outside of Charlotte. Cool. Nothing came to fucking Charlotte. Nothing. And it's fucking rough. So I'm like just driving to like Asheville, like 4.5 hours in the car. Raleigh, I have to go up and then shoot back down. I'm like, it was ridiculous. I'm like, actually everything shoots over the Carolinas. And with the Southeast, music is really weird. It is in the Carolinas. Nothing goes to South Carolina because unless you're going to Ground Zero.
Right, and I was just going to mention that.
And there, I've been to one show, and it was actually David, what's his name?
From Filth?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
Yes, I don't even call him David. It's Dave. I'm like, Dave, Davey? But it wasn't Filth, and it was Betraying.
Impale the Betrayer?
Yes.
Okay.
And they were opening up for my buddy's band from New Hampshire, Conforza. And so I'm like, and this was like my second show. And I'm like, okay, so I go to South Carolina. Once again, 6 hours to get there. It's like there's nothing around. It's sketchy as fuck. I'm like, yeah. Deliverance looks like it's filmed around that area. I'm not digging it. And I just didn't like the Carolinas. And yeah, I'm like, but met David.
Right.
He doesn't go by Dave, but I'm going to call him Dave.
It's interesting to hear that because I've had David on the show, and I'm trying to connect the dots to show like, hey, you know what? We all actually kind of know each other, even if we don't.
Oh, dude, it's one big like clusterfuck. Let's be realistic. We're all together, like how we all know each other.
So actually, let's do some comparisons here and kind of go in between the two markets. How would you compare the music scene in the Southeast to the Northeast?
The Northeast, we'll do a lot of do-yourself shows. Like if there's a VFW, it's like, or Elk Lodge or Basement, we'll bring in your tour. It's a great area. There's a lot of little things, a lot of do-it-yourself promoters. It's hard to compete to the Northeast, though. It's like there's so many like venues there. But okay, so like I said, North Carolina is great, but Atlanta is really like it's the New York of the South. There's so many when the time's right. There's a lot of shows. Like I do everything. Like in the business, I feel like I should contribute to everything I possibly can in the business. And I'm like, I'll bartend at certain shows, and I'll fucking load gear if I have to. There's so much going on here. Like the rap community down here is huge. I don't understand it. I'm like, the rap I know, people like, oh, hey, Gramps. I'm like, what, Public Enemy? I'm like, what? Yeah, old, okay? I'm like, I do like my Wu-Tang, but even that's grandpa rap now. I'm like,
sure.
Oh, shit. Really? I'm like, Method Man is old now? They're like, he just had a hip replacement. I'm like, oh. The market down here is great. Atlanta's amazing. It could be the next biggest thing. It really could, because there's so much going on. There's a lot of clubs down here, like the Drunken Unicorn, the Masquerade, Swayze's in Marietta. And then if you like, Marietta's a part of Atlanta. I know I'm going to get hate on now by all the Atlanta people because it's OTP and ITP. I don't know what it means. It's inside the perimeter, outside, something to do with the highway. It's Atlanta.
Right.
So, it's like, okay, even the fucking nice ring around Detroit, it's still Detroit. It's like, that's how it is. You go to Boston, it's like, where you from? I'm like, I'm not even from fucking Boston. And everyone's like, well, why's your name Boston Chuck? I'm like, just because I got the fucking accent. This name. I'm like, actually, I think it was Steve from Despised Icon. He was like, you're like Boston George, but Boston Chuck. I'm like, all right, but he's like, your accent's better. I'm like, well, that's because Johnny Depp isn't from fucking Boston. I'm like, so, but he's like, yeah, I have such a thick Boston, especially they love it down here. So they're like, hey, Boston. I'm like, okay, it's not Boston, it's Boston. Leave it alone.
What's something that could be improved down there?
More of me. It's not just down here. It's for the whole scene. Everyone needs to realize, I don't, like, even like, you know, we all have different tastes. I'm like, if you know me, you know I'm like a guy, you're like, you come up to me, I will fucking party with anyone. I'm like, I don't drink, but guess what? You come up to me and you're like, hey, Chuck, you want to go for a beer? I'll go for a beer with you. Let's do it. Fuck it. That's who I am. You know what? This is what people need to learn. The scene needs to learn. Not just, this is what will improve everything. This will fucking cross off everything. Compassion. Work together. Help out each other, you know, and like stick together. You know, it's like, honestly, like, instead of talking shit about another band, like, if I have a problem with them, I'm not talking about them. I don't want to use any of my examples because I hate them that much, but right. I will use one from Detroit. ICP. None of us. You know what? None of them, you know. But you know what? There's good people in it too. You know what? They have the best market out there for music. No matter who the fuck you are, they can sell all their fucking albums. They can fill up every fucking sold out show at every fucking venue. But you know what? We're sitting here talking shit about, you know what? Each other. No. Stop that. Work together. Let's get this thing going. You know what? We wouldn't be underground if we all started working together. It's like you wouldn't have, you know, you breaking down on the side of the road wouldn't be a problem. You know, it's like, okay. You know, like someone said on a previous podcast that you shouldn't ask for help. You know what? If someone's going to help me, I'm going to fucking take the hand. And if I can help someone, I'm going to help someone. It's like if I hit rock bottom, hell yeah, I'm going to put a GoFundMe up. You know, it's like shit. You know, these whole donation things on Facebook for, oh, it's my birthday. You can donate to a fund. Here's a better one. Hey, it's my birthday. Donate $1 to my, you know, fucking PayPal. Better. No, help me out. Fuck helping out the things, you know, help out everyone. You know, it's like the GoFundMe things are great. Honestly, let's all just stop being more compassionate to each other, helping out each other, and working together. I remember starting all this before the internet and doing all the, like, doing the whole media thing when metal injection was a little thing, when they were nothing. They were like just, it was two guys. That was it. Now they're a fucking entity. Good for you guys. You know, it's like you worked hard at what you got, you did. People helped you. You know what? I plug anyone that fucking wants. You know, I'm like, photographers, perfect thing. Photographers hate each other because they're all fucking like stuck up douchebags. Okay, that's the problem. I'm like, I'll help out anyone. I'm like, I'm not a great photographer. I'm not a technical photographer. You know, it's like, it's rough. Like, I know one of your questions is going to be about my gear. Here's the gear question and the answer, right? Now, you know what I use? I use a kit camera. I don't believe in going out and spending $10,000 for a fucking camera. Well, actually, lenses are nice, and I will like, I would like some super wide angle, maybe like fisheye. I'm like, I use a T3i. It's a basic Canon. What is it? 18 by 55 millimeters lens, and people are like, I don't need a $10,000 camera to capture what I want to. I'm like, I can shoot the shit in RAW if I want to. I can shoot it in the lowest setting if I want to. I don't care. I think if you get something, master it before going on. Like a lot of these photographers, they have like 1,000 lenses, 3 cameras, and their pictures are shit. And I'm not saying, you know, my pictures are better because, like I said earlier, I'm not a great fucking photographer. I'm just, you know, having fun and helping out the community and, you know, trying to make art. You know, it's like I want to master my own craft. I'm not trying to invade on people. I want to help out people and do like this. You know, I'm like, I know you're from Bermuda. Okay. I'm like, to be on your show, honestly, it's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much, you know? And I want to help out. Like, if I know this, like, oh, yeah, dude, I'm going to plug the shit out of this one because, you know, I'm on it now.
Right.
Yeah, woo! He's going to make millions of enemies. But no, it's like, I'm like, I like it because you're helping out the community. Like the whole fact that you had a guy that booked shows.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and he was humble, and that's nice. We all need to work together. It's like we don't have to worry about, you know, you don't need the best of this. You don't need that. You just need, you know, like a team that'll work with you. And we should all be doing this as a team.
All right, so that kind of answers the next series of questions. So I guess we'll.
Boom! I could have finished this whole thing in about 15 minutes.
So let's have a discussion about the Eternal Mile. When was the first show you shot, and who was the lineup?
The Slayer show, like I said earlier, it was Slayer, Thy Will Be Done, that just they changed from Cobalt to Thy Will Be Done, and Unearth. Oh, I couldn't tell you the fucking year anyhow. All I remember is that Slayer made everyone price match their fucking merch, and you have local bands that is trying to sell a T-shirt for $50 when they're a fucking local band. You fucking cocksucker, Kerry, suck a dick. Okay, that was really fucking wrong. Okay, That was really wrong. Don't make a local band do that. That's horrible. It's like, now if you're all local bands doing that, then yeah, you price match, do it all solid across so people, yeah. But like that's ridiculous. $50 for a T-shirt. Yeah, but yeah, it was amazing. It was horrible pitches. That was the first thing I've ever shot as a photographer. But my first, that I consider my first, it was Dillinger Escape Plan at the Worcester Palladium. And, who the fuck was with them? I think Arsonist Gets All the Girls. It was like a fest kind of thing. Well, because Worcester, the Palladium, there's always something fucking going on. I think it was Rock and Shock. And it was Dillinger. My buddy didn't want to shoot it. And he's like, I don't fucking care who they are here. Use my camera. I was like, okay. And I shot Dillinger, and I actually took two good pictures that actually I would put in my portfolio, but I don't know how to use Nikon. And there is a little curvature there between Nikon and Canon, and I'm an idiot. So add that into the mix too. It's like, woo, I don't know what I'm doing, but my first show was Dillinger and Slayer, basically. So,
if you had to guess, how many shows have you shot to date?
I thought about this a lot of times. I've been and covered like interviews, photo shoots, and everything. I've been to over like 1,500 shows at least. That's really at least. I've probably been to like 2,000 shows since like a kid.
Sure.
Since started with that first Pantera show, it's like, but I say to shoot as a photographer, at least 500 shows. I'd say that at least, I'm like, do I have that many pictures of the? Not anymore. I'm like, hard drives failed and stuff, but yeah, I say 500 shows. Yeah.
What's 3 venues or cities that defines the Northeast experience to you?
Worcester. Just so you know, it's spelled Woostah. Worcester. That Worcester. Where are you from, Worcester? But Worcester is like honestly like the heart and soul of New England. And then I'm going to say like New York. Like honestly, you get down to like was the Fillmore East? It was awesome. I loved the Fillmore. Oh my God, that place was beautiful. And I'll throw in Manchester, New Hampshire. Fuck it. Just Manchester, New Hampshire, because they all say they're from Manchester at the time.
Now, 3 venues or cities that defines the Southeast experience.
The Masquerade, okay? They have 3 clubs in it right there. That's enough to cover the Southeast. Honestly, if you're not going to any one of the Masquerade, like Heaven, Hell, or Purgatory, you're not hitting up fucking the right market. Honestly. It's like you can hit Swayze's and fucking Marietta. No.
So the staple question for this year on the show has been Warped Tour coming to an end. Kevin Lyman says that this is the last year for Warped due to low turnouts and an aging demographic. What are your thoughts on Warped coming to an end, and is that a sign of things to come for bands in the lower and middle class markets?
It really is a sad thing, no matter what. Looking at it, but you know what? It's one of those things. Every good thing has to come to an end. Ozfest, Tattoo the Earth, Sounds of the Underground, fucking hey. There's a million tours, huge Rockstar, what is it, Mayhem? All these things end up coming to an end, and a new one will replace it eventually. Will it ruin the little bands? No. You know what? The kids, things change. The kids will find something else, and it will be something. The bands will change and evolve and grow into something better. I just think it's time for a rest because, one, when you start off as a punk rock thing, and then you have to start bringing in metal bands, and even that, it wasn't helping them. It comes back to the community has to stick together. We're all getting lazy. He ruined it. He gave up on the dream. It's just like any band, just like any artist, just like anyone. When you lose the hunger and you lose the dream, everything will fall apart. He could have helped out the bands like he used to in the back in the day. Not asking. He was doing so much more, and it's a tax write-off. You can use half of this shit as a tax write-off. It's like, I gave you guys sneakers. Boom. I gave away 50,000 pairs of sneakers. Tax write-off. Okay.
Right.
Fucking hey. He could have been, yeah. I blame it on Kevin. Kevin, you're the reason why you're ending this, and we're all upset. Some of us. I really don't give a shit because you know what? We'll find a new way to do something.
So now, let's have some worst moments from your career. Any horror stories or close calls as a photographer?
I can give you different levels of everything. As a photographer, I'm missing about 3 teeth in my mouth because I protect my camera more than I protect my face. So I'm like, and especially shooting like the heavy aggressive bands that I like to shoot, it's like people like honestly Terror. I love Terror. I don't want to shoot them. I'm like, I've been kicked in the face. I love hardcore shows, and like these places that don't have photo pits are hard, and I protect. I'm missing teeth, and they hurt my face a lot. Hardcore shows and my teeth don't mix because I'm like, protect the camera.
How about biggest pain in the ass band or venue to work with?
Biggest headache to deal with is any venue that's Warped Tour kind of thing, like where they want to escort you in and escort you out, like Deftones. They're like, you can shoot the last 3 songs. The last 3, okay, and then all of a sudden I get in there, and all of a sudden they're like, no, we don't want you. Okay, that was it. I took one fucking picture, didn't get anything. It was just like the click. Let me see my camera. Okay, I need to send it to. We're leaving. What was that? That's it.
Lastly, most random thing to happen at a show.
I'm up at. It was me and my friend Todd Cardini. He used to run Heavy Metal Source. And we're sitting outside and we're smoking, and I think it was like Jack Strong, formerly of the Acacia Strain, and like, I don't know, maybe it was someone. I forget who I was smoking. There was a bunch of us smoking, and out of nowhere comes Cory Haines, I think it is, who's the one that died. Out of the Corys from the 80s, like License to Drive.
Oh, yeah.
Cory, I think it's Cory Haines because Corey Feldman is as the band.
Yeah.
So it's Haines. He comes running up to me and he's like, hey, man, can I hit that thing? And I'm like, we're all just standing there and I'm like, oh, my God, it's Cory. I'm like, I don't know which one he is because I'm a douchebag and I don't know anyone's last name. Just don't. I'm like, you? I'm like, I would, no, but don't, until I heard the show, I wouldn't even pronounce your last name. Don't do people's last. I'm like, everyone's first name. I'm like, Cory Bermuda. Noah Bermuda. My whole phone is that way. I'm like, just like, it's so much easier. No one has last names. Don't worry. No one's going to jail. Yet, but I do have the pictures that incriminate them, though. But yeah, he came running up out of nowhere, and he's like, hey, can I hit that? And of course, I'm like, fuck yeah. And then he's like, do you know where I can get some blow? I'm like, actually, yes, I do. I had a friend there that was big into it. And he's like, but not off him. I'm like, oh. And then in that case, no, I don't have someone. He's like, I owe him $20. He goes running off. My buddy comes out. He's like, dude, have you ever seen that fucking guy from the 80s movie? I'm like, Cory Haines or whatever. He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, he was just here smoking. He's like, he owes me fucking $50. I'm like, it's 50 now? I'm like, holy shit. So besides the point, so I'm like, okay. And about an hour later, I go into like where they have the convention of Rock and Shock, and they have all these like, I met Rowdy Piper out of the blue, just comes walking up to me like, hey, you would be a great wrestler. it's big. It's a big thing for them coming up to me or something. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm a giant, and I'm, yeah, okay. Yeah, you'd be great. I'm like, okay, can I borrow a cigarette? Sure. And then I find out he dies of cancer. Kills me. Horrible. Right. I'm like, damn it. I'm like, I helped that. But I'm in the venue now, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, look, there's, Kane, the guy that plays Jason, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, that's awesome. I'm like, oh, Michael Myers. And then this Cory. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, should I go for a photo shoot? And my friend's like, nah, man, fuck him. I'm like, nah, I think I'm going to be like, hey, man, give me a free photo. Some girl goes up to him and is like, hey, can I get a photo with you? And her tits are hanging out. Like, she is like stripper looking like hot going on. You're like, oh, this is going to be funny. Sexual harassment. Here we go. She pulls out the phone, does the selfie thing, sticks out the boobs, and he gets in and he puts his head right next to tits, and you see all of a sudden an envelope go in front of his face. And she's like, you've been served. He grabs the phone, smashes the fucking phone, and punches the girl and runs the fuck out.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the rest of the night, and for the rest of because it's 3 days, he was missing. And that was on the first night. He got served. So he disappeared after that. And then, yeah. So that, I'd say that was my random, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. All right, so quick story time. For anyone who was following Heavy Metal Source in the mid to late 2000s, Boston Chuck was the infamous Santa Chuck. There's also a great shot of you literally flying into a crowd dressed as Santa Claus or Santa Chuck, and nobody looks stoked about it.
Now, there's 2 pictures of that, though. Which one is that? Is that the one where my crotch is landing in the girl's face? And she's like, that one is excellent. That's a great one.
and as I mentioned in your intro, you literally looked like a monster the first time I met you, plowing through kids while taking shots of us. And there's going to be a link to the Santa Chuck video and the picture I'm talking about on the show's Facebook right now, so go check that out. But
I fucking hate
you. it was a trip seeing one of the original Danza guitarists in that.
Yep. Yeah.
So long ago.
Just like, yeah. That it really was like, God, that was like, actually, hold on.
I think that was it was 2008 or maybe 2007.
I think it was 8 or 7 or something like that, because it was Despised Icon, Full Blown Chaos, Legia, Tony Danza, Cock Punch was on it too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's Vincent would play that band anywhere he could.
Yeah.
So if they're like, hey, and there was someone else. I want to say Stick to Your Guns too was there. But yeah, it was such an amazing show, and I think it was 2008-ish. I think so.
Well, I'm definitely going to have you back on for like a mini episode, because there's some things I wanted to ask you about that we'll catch up on another time, like some of the tours that you followed and all that kind of stuff. But
oh yeah, definitely.
But before we go, let's do a quick plug for your services. How can people get a hold of you?
Whew. Oh, I'm easy. Okay, now here we go. If you want to hear my bullshit and see my rants, add me on Facebook, Boston Chuck. Now, if you just want to see my art and shit, add Boston Chuck Photography on Facebook. Now, if you want to see all my awesome food and the shit I'm doing and all the weed I smoke, add me on Instagram. Boston Chuck again. Or if you're on Tumblr and you're like, well, you want to in between, titties and ass, and you want to see some pictures, add me on Tumblr, Boston Chuck. Actually, I think it's Boston Chuck 666 to piss off Cory. You can also find me at bostonchuck.com. I'll also be doing some work with Blackbird House Studios. Spooky Empire, it's a little harder to find me because I'm one of the unknown people there, but I also work on that, trying to bring music to the horror community in Orlando. So should be doing something like that. And yeah, that's and I also check out Ghost Cult Magazine, because I also contribute to them, and you will find some pictures there.
Chuck, thank you so much for coming on the show. best of luck with your endeavors this year, and hopefully we'll be chatting again soon.
Thanks for having me, man. Love you.
That concludes this episode. I'd like to thank Chuck for being on the show. Follow his work on social media at Boston Chuck. Also, don't forget about that Distinguisher show going on tonight at the Marquis Theater in Denver. I've been your host, Noah Sias, and as always, thank you for listening.